School committee members and student reports. School committee chair report, I have nothing to report at this time. Resource subcommittee, Mr. Stevens.
Resource, we will be meeting this week. And
Okay.
for building needs, we had a long meeting the other afternoon, and
Right.
because it was on Zoom, I asked Mr. Shalapou if he would give a short report on that.
I can certainly give you a quick report, and we'll start in reverse of the agenda. I did want to announce that we have hired a new Director of School Building Maintenance, Joe Richardson, who will be joining us on October 26th, and we're very excited to have him back in the district after a few years. A quick update on our MSBA projects. We will be presenting our PSR, which is a preferred schematic report, to the MSBA on the 7th at 9:40. And we'll be moving forward, hopefully at that, with the new Crocker Elementary School. Speaking with our contractors at the South Street complex, the roof will be 95% done by this Friday. We're just waiting for our gutters to be installed. And the boilers have been test fired, which went very successfully. And they actually will have their technicians on site tomorrow for training our staff to get them running for the winter.
Nicely done, everyone involved. Thank you. Okay.
I'd just like to thank Mr. Shalapou for all the work he's done with the absence of a director, that what he's been able to pull together has been exemplary. So thank you, Mr. Shalapou.
Thank you, Pete.
Yeah, here. As a long-time building needs, I don't know, what are we, veterans?
Yeah, I think so.
The work that is been going on, the degrees of scaffolding, I've been really happy to talk to our residents about the incredibly good as well as transparent work we're doing. The fact that we are so open with what's happening with our buildings is not typical of other districts. So thank you so much, everyone. Again, Fitchburg is tops.
That's great. Good to hear. Mr. Horgan, Policy Committee,
No updates, sir.
any questions? Comments, concerns, seeing on Student Support Committee, Ms. LaBelle Pierce.
We met on September 24th, last Thursday, and talked about, for reporting students who become positive, COVID-19 positive test cases. Presented to us, talked about the guidelines that have come out through the state. Sorry. I don't know if I could talk up.
The volume. It's the volume over here.
Okay.
Oh, the volume. I think so.
And wanted to just understand the system and make sure that hopefully parents in our district understand the system.
All here.
That ultimately the Board of Health is the entity to determine who needs to be notified and who needs to be quarantined. They're, even though we aren't in school, they're concerned about kids being tested positive, and how and what the role of the school system is in understanding contact tracing and the whole procedure. So obviously because of HIPAA and compliance with privacy rules, we just strictly adhere to what we are told to do by the Board of Health. And so they are really the entity that takes control in that situation. So we talked about other protocols in place for when students are back in buildings. There is a daily staff health form that all staff in the building fill in to assess like their symptoms or risk. And that there's an assumption that all families are going to be assessing children before they send them to school or get them out. We did request that caregivers make a presentation to the school committee. So I imagine that's going to happen relatively soon. Okay. And I think, just given that we're going to be transitioning to hybrid, I'm sure a lot of parents really want to understand those protocols. So, and then the principals are working on a variety of schedules and pods, and I imagine as they present here in the next couple of meetings, we're going to be hearing about those plans. As of the meeting, we didn't know what those plans are in terms of pods that, particularly at the high school, kids are going to be scheduled for. So I think that was pretty much it. There was talk at the end of the meeting about whether groups are going to be allowed to do some outdoor socially distant activities, but it was agreed that we would put that on the agenda for the next student support meeting, when we can get a little bit more information about that.
Yes.
Yep.
I thought that I heard that the HIP rules don't carry through for this particular situation.
Well, HIPAA rules apply all the time. You mean this particular situation with COVID?
Yeah.
No, I mean, they still apply. But obviously, the Board of Health determines who must be notified. The school will be notified of positive cases.
Well, I mean, with all this tracing, anywhere you go, you gotta write down all the different names and that you've been with and where you've been and.
Right, but it still doesn't allow, like, say, the school system to say, you know, who's been tested positive, or, you know, like, we're not gonna give names or anything like that. We can definitely, and talk about cases, right? It's gonna be important if cases emerge for people to understand cases in schools, right? But not particulars about.
I'll do some follow-up on that too.
Yeah, you can't just put people's names out, even in this. So, but I think what we just wanted to know is before any large groups of students really get into the buildings, what we wanted to understand the protocol. And so the protocol was explained to us, and I think it'll be helpful when Pam Rivers presents, you know, to people via FATV.
Any questions? Thank you, Ms. Pierce. Personnel Subcommittee, Mr. Jokel, we're still engaged in discussions with FTA, but we're making strides in that direction. We should be hybrid November 2nd. Hopefully.
There's a vote on an MOU tomorrow evening.
Is that what it, okay, right.
And I guess I would like to have an executive session after this meeting, just to bring the school committee members
Good,
up to
okay,
speed.
good. Okay. Executive Committee, I have nothing to report. Student reps, are we doing student reps or not, right?
Not tonight.
No, okay. No need for executive, well, it would be executive session, but we'll do it at the completion of the meeting. Communications, have none. Public comment, anyone wishing to make public comment?
I have not received any.
No one is registered. That moves us into our superintendent's report, Mr. Jokla.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have kind of a unique meeting tonight. It's our first hybrid meeting where school committee and members of cabinet here are physically present at Memorial. And with the technological wizardry and sophistication of FATV, they're able to pull this all together. So first, I want to thank everybody for making an effort to physically be here, and FATV for making sure this tonight's meeting goes smoothly. So as I started at the last school committee meeting, I've asked Steve Curry to present some of the COVID information for the city of Fitchburg. I've been periodically putting together data based on Mass Department of Public Health's weekly report that comes out on Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. Steve Curry, as the director of the Board of Health for the city of Fitchburg, has been working with MRPC, who they compile the data and present it in a much more easily understandable format. So having said that, I guess I just want to confirm that Mr. Curry is available right now.
I'm here, Bob. Sorry for the delay. Little technical difficulties, but I think I solved it.
Okay, thanks, Steve. So, Steve, I'll just go over the Mass DPH info, and then I'll have you go over the City of Fitchburg info, if that's okay.
Sounds terrific.
Okay, great. So, every Wednesday, the Commonwealth presents a color-coded map of communities in the state. And as you can see in the central part of the state, Fitchburg and Leominster are both green. And we have been green now for several weeks. The information on the next chart is taken from the spreadsheet data that's published by Department of Public Health. As you can see, if you can read the numbers on TV, Fitchburg has an average daily incidence rate of 1.5 per 100,000 in the last 14 days and has a percent positivity rate in the last 14 days of 0.53%. So that's basically a 0.5%. This next chart contains a few pieces of information. In green is the positive percent test, and as you can see, it's at 0.53. That number has decreased since August 19th when it was over 2%. And now for several weeks we have been in the green, and the amount of tests performed are in the purple bars. And you can see over the last month that over 2,000 tests have been performed locally. And again, the test positivity rate in each of the last 4 weeks has been below 1%. Okay, Mr. Curry, if you can take it from here.
Certainly can. Good evening, folks. This is a chart showing our cases from July 1st to last Friday, actually, October 2nd. I believe in blue is the confirmed cases, which are daily cases. And then the, it's either red or orange, my apologies, are the probable cases. And probable cases are still occurring. Basically, those cases are where physicians just assume that the patient has COVID and no test is taken. Overall, since March, we've had somewhere around 35 probable cases, so most people are getting tested. But again, this chart shows the cases daily. As Superintendent Jokela mentioned earlier, our daily incident rate is 1.5%. That means basically we get 1.5 cases daily per 100,000 people. The gray line shows the overall combined probable and cumulative cases from July 1st to last Friday. So that number is actually over a little bit over 920 total cases. So it's a steady rise since July. This is our active and daily cases. So the gray line shows the actual active cases per day. And this is over a 2-week period, or actually it's back from September 18th to last Friday again. So you see our average daily cases on the left, starts at about 0.5 case per day, goes over 1, and presently it's up and down, and it's a difficult thing to track because there is an isolation period with these cases. So some people are isolated for 10 days, some people a little bit more. As you remain symptomatic, we keep you in isolation. So it fluctuates our case rate. But the blue is our confirmed cases daily. You can see we go several days without cases now, which is terrific. And the orange is the probable cases. And it's interesting to see the age of our confirmed cases. It is very small, but it looks like 20% of our cases since September 18th are from ages 0 to 4. And then 80% of our cases are somewhere above the school age range, which is 19 to 65. So kind of good information there for the school committee to absorb. This is the testing outcomes. Overall testing, 1% or 13 cases have been positive out of almost 2,500. So not a lot of positives coming out of the testing, which is interesting. Really not much to say about that slide other than it's 2-week period. And this we've all heard several times. This is how we continue to stop the spread of COVID-19 in our city. And overall, we had a little flurry over the weekend, a few cases, nothing serious as of yet, but hopefully it keeps us in the green section and people continue to comply and wash their hands and wear a mask where applicable. I don't know if anybody wants to ask any questions or kind of went over those graphs quick, and it's a short period of time to absorb all that information.
Any questions from the committee?
I do.
Yes.
Steve, when you say, like, if you go back to the data, when you say there's a little flurry of activity over the weekend, where do we see that on the?
Yeah, you don't see it. You only see up until Friday, and I apologize. I don't have any information yet because we're still sorting the cases out. Incidentally, we interview every case, so we receive cases over a virtual network from the State Department of Public Health. And a lot of times when we conduct those interviews, we find that some of the cases aren't even Fitchburg residents. So once we sort those out, I hope to have some fresher numbers for you
Could I
within the
follow,
next week.
could I follow up with that, Steve? Like, so when somebody tests positive and they're reported to you in Fitchburg, that's because they had their test done in Fitchburg?
Not necessarily. They may be a Fitchburg resident that tested anywhere. It really depends on the address they give at the test site.
Okay. And so when you say that that sometimes you get results and they're not residents of Fitchburg, how come you're getting those results?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I ask the same question just about every day. It's usually what folks are concerned today. There are a lot of folks out there that aren't interested in giving their real address, but they're actually interested in knowing if they're positive and negative. We're finding that a lot. I come across a lot of addresses that have been addresses that have never been residential addresses, which makes things a little bit more difficult. For whatever reason, folks are apprehensive to give a lot of folks are apprehensive to give their actual address. We run into that quite a bit. And sometimes at the test site, they fill out their own forms, so people are forced to interpret other folks' writing, and sometimes it's not always visible. And then some people, a lot of times, people actually leave the address of the place they get tested. They just don't fill out the forms correctly. It's just something that we really can't control. But an interview usually takes care of that issue.
Okay. Thank you. That's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Steve, are you able to get back to those people who do not give addresses?
There are some folks that we collaborate with the state community tracing collaborative. There are folks that are lost to follow through. We have about since March somewhere around 40 to 50 cases that aren't able to locate. So it does happen, yes. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Steve. I think you're doing a great job for the city. Thank you.
I appreciate that, folks. And, again, that's a lot of information to absorb, but I'm always here for questions. And I find that graphs are a little bit easier to focus your eyes on than a whole bunch of numbers. So hopefully I'm on the right path there. But
Could I ask another? I'm sorry, Steve.
absolutely.
Are you did you, so you said that 20% of those tests, testing positive are are like under 4 years old? Does that
A lot of
surprise
our,
you?
yes, a lot of our cases now are clusters, households. It's very difficult to isolate, obviously, in the household. So, in the beginning in March, we will find a lot of sporadic cases around the city, but now most of our cases are all in a couple of households.
Okay,
So, somebody in the household contracts it. It's runs through the household. That's very common now.
okay, I understand, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, it looks
The
good.
age group in the beginning wasn't quite like that, but because of the household contacts, it's turned into that.
But it looks good, as Gene was talking about, the 80% are not our school-age children at the present.
Yeah, that's great information for you folks to make informed decisions. Hopefully, it remains that way.
All set, everyone?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
Steve?
You're welcome, folks.
Okay, bye-bye.
No.
Okay, so to continue, we have several school improvement plans that each of the elementary school principals will be presenting, in addition to Mark Pierce of McKay Arts Academy, the K through 8. But before we do that, I just want to go over some positive information, positive news from the district level. So first of all, today is World Teachers Day, so I want to personally thank all our teachers for being nimble, flexible, adaptive, extremely hardworking, and caring for our kids during this new version of remote learning. And also, today, we welcomed back some students to our schools. So today is day one of students returning to our schools, and so far so good. We're living and learning as we're working in this new environment. So overall, a very good day with our students, and just look to get better every day here. On a real positive note here, Fitchburg High School, or the school district, was recognized by ESPN and Special Olympics for our efforts to be inclusive of students with disabilities. Fitchburg High is one of 36 Special Olympics Unified Champion schools that made the 2020 ESPN Honor Roll, and the top 5 schools will be announced October 12th. We were the only public school in Massachusetts to receive this recognition. So
That's great.
congrats to Fitchburg High and all the students there, staff and students there. So over the last couple months, we've been working with a couple partners, one being an equity consultant, Dig Deep for Equity, which the school committee approved back in the spring, and also Focused Schools, where Carrie Purcell made a presentation to the school committee also in the spring. And we've been looking at how to get a common goal and theory of action across the district. We've been meeting with all our principals, instructional leadership teams across the district, and we've pretty much zeroed in on the following goal, and it's to increase personal growth, both academic and social emotional, to obtain the highest level of achievement for every student. And our theory of action being, if all staff, families, and community partners collaboratively identify and remove barriers to personal growth and achievement, then every student will be ready to learn and access high-quality core instruction and social emotional supports. So this is really part of our efforts to have a unified school district approach versus a district of schools approach. So this goal and theory of action took us, the cabinet team, well, I'm going to say 2 or 3 meetings to get together. And again, with everything else going on this summer, we had a lot of different things on our plate, but really with the, coaching and maybe a little bit of pushing from our focus school partner, we were able to come up with this goal and theory of action. So we're pretty pleased, because really, it really reflects our philosophy that all our students can learn. and achieve and grow. So that's the basis of what we're trying to do going forward here. So now I'm going to go into just some data and some more good news. But before I get to the good news, just again, as I call this, this is the slide of who we are based on our statistics. Our school district is now 72% students of color. 53% of our student population is Hispanic Latino, followed by multi-race non-Hispanic at 7.5%. African American at 6.2%, Asian at 4.6%, and white at 28.2%. So over the last year, our staff worked diligently, really up until March 13th, about reducing the chronic absenteeism, and really chronic absenteeism is inverse to student attendance. So when student attendance goes up, our chronic absenteeism goes down. So the blue bars here are the average number of days absent, and you can see from 2017 to 2019 that ranged pretty close to 12 days were the average absences. And up until March 13th, when, as we all know, we had to transition out of the COVID emergency to remote learning, we're about 7.6. So we dramatically decreased the number of days absent per student. So that's really a result of a lot of hard work of all our schools and their staffs, making sure that our kids are coming to school every day.
Also, the attendance rate is on this chart.
And then the attendance rate, which is the red line, thank you, Adam. Again, that was hovering around the 92, 93% range, and now it's up to 95.5%. For the district for last year. So again, this is through March 13th. And when we dig down a little bit into the data and look at the last 3 years for various subgroups, 18 is in red, 2019 is in gray, 2020 is in green. You can see that our percentage of chronic students who are chronically absent in these 4 groups decreased dramatically, with the largest decrease being in our Hispanic Latino, which went from over 30% down to, I think it's 12%. So again, a lot of hard work by a lot of people out in the schools and their support staff. So I give credit to everybody in our school district for making that happen. Okay. So that's the good news and the update from the district level. And now we're going to go in alphabetical order by schools. Casey Bolak, principal of Crocker, is online. And Casey, take it away.
Hi, guys. Good evening, everybody. Wish we could be there, but this is, like everything else with 2020, this is something new, and I'll keep it under 5 minutes here. So I really wanted to reiterate the district goal and how important it is for us at Crocker. We really do believe that this is an amazing goal, and we're putting we'll talk a lot. I'll talk a lot about many of the things that are in this district goal as we move forward. It really hits at the core of the many things that Crocker believes in. So this is who we are here. Really kind of mirrors a lot of what we already saw with the district that Bob just presented. But our largest population is Hispanic Latino at 58%, and our white is around 26%. This just is a quick slide of some of our selected populations, just to give you an idea of what our student population is. And so we're a little over 65%, 66% on our economically disadvantaged. Our students are classified as, almost 40% of our students have a first language that's not English. So that's that FLNE chart there, or bar. Our English learners are a little over 25, 26%. And our students that need intervention here, our students with disability, are identified around 22% of our population at Crocker. You know, where this is, you know, what Bob just said, I just want to echo, we are extremely proud of our attendance data. This chart almost looks exactly like the district's, but you know, we were up around that 12 range for a while, and then really started to make a conscious effort, really focused on that last year, and we're really proud, you know, getting it close to 7 average number of days absent for our student, and really up to almost 96% attendance rate. So this is something that will show up again in our celebrations. We're at Crocker, we're really proud of that. So much like the vision that Bob just presented, Crocker worked with a strategic partner with the Lynch Leadership Academy at BC that Crocker's had a long-standing relationship with to kind of create this vision throughout the summer, some in the spring and throughout the summer. You know, and I'll just read it to you quickly, where Crocker Elementary School will be a safe professional learning community that consists of highly effective professional learning teams. And these teams will collaborate, use reflective teaching practices, and ensure academic excellence for all students, and develop a community of independent learners. Really, I wanted to make sure that I bulleted this for you guys, that the way that we can achieve that, and Crocker talks a lot about this often, is that our social emotional learning, as well as our academic curriculum and our academic learning, really need to be built around these routines and norms. But most importantly, really, is that idea of relational trust. And that's not more true than what's happening now. We're starting with remote learning. We've really made a conscious effort to build that relational trust, build that bridge with our students and our families. And, you know, we've made decisions where we're kind of, you know, holding off on assessments to making sure that we get that accurate data, to make sure that our kids are well known by our teachers, and our kids really know and trust our teachers, and our families are engaged there. And again, much like the district's vision, where we're involving all stakeholders and remove those barriers. So this is really, we're really happy how our vision really kind of matched up there. And these 3 things are probably the most important, especially during this time with remote learning. We want to improve our student connectedness, improve student and staff relationships, and improve family engagement, because we know now more than ever, our student engagement is really dependent on our family engagement and how well we do these 3 things. So this would be where a lot of our MCAS data would come in, but we have our access scores, and we set a goal. And so you could see where we were at 52% in 2018, and we dropped down to 48. And our goal last year was get to 53, and we made it to 55. So we're really proud of that, of our percentage that made progress toward their English language proficiency. And really that's our celebration. I want to really talk to you guys about that, because we've, in a little over a year, Crocker went for just about 111 or so students being tested on access, to last year we had 172 total students tested on access, but we were still able to make that improvement. So we're really proud of that. Like Bob said, our chronic absenteeism as well as our attendance rate were significantly increased or significantly lowered before the pandemic, and we were able to really build those connections with our families, and we're proud of that, so we can continue our teaching and learning in the spring, and it really laid that foundation. Our focus areas will be the same as they were from last year. Our English learners and our former English learners, our students with disabilities, and our students that are dual identified in both of the above categories are really a major focus. So came up with some SMART goals, and they really kind of mirror those 3 focus areas. We use some data from previous MCAS scores as well as access, but Adam, if you could move to the next slide, it would probably be easier for us to kind of go over. These are really the school improvement goals that we're presenting. We really with those three focus areas, we want to improve our English English ESL subgroup overall from a 6% on that MCAS back in 2019 criterion to 15, which was back in 2018 we had 12%. So just as a reference guide, so we know we can get to that level. And we really want to improve our 55%. We're proud of getting to 55%, but we know we can do even more. And so our goal this year is to get up to 60% of making progress towards our English language proficiency. Our students with disability scores, we want to get them all the way up from, a 4% on our 2019 MCAS up to a 40%, which will be above and beyond our 2018 score of 38%. So we know it's attainable, and we want to beat that. And we really want to concentrate on our lowest performing subgroups. So when that subgroup itself had an overall achievement drop in both ELA and math, 4.3 points in ELA and 5.1 points in math. And we're looking to erase that drop and add on to it. So our goal is a growth of 10 achievement points in both ELA and math. And so those are the three things that are really going to be driving us instructionally this year. We think they're attainable, but they're a challenge, and we're looking forward to it. So, and that's our improvement plan.
Okay, thank you, Casey. Any questions from the committee? We can go right into the next one if there are no questions.
Just a quick comment. It's great to see this forward movement and what feels like momentum in a time where momentum is absent elsewhere. But I just wanted to draw our attention to what Casey said about how student engagement is dependent on family engagement. And I don't think that's ever been summed up so simply for me. And I think that our commitment to family engagement is paying off, and that's exciting. I certainly have felt very comfortable in Fitchburg Public Schools from the absolute get-go, back when my son was in preschool. And for every family to feel comfortable and welcomed, that's great. I appreciate hearing that. I will be repeating that. I'm glad that we've invested in that. It's worth it. So that's it for me.
Thank you.
I would have a general question. I don't know if it can be answered, but maybe at some point. If attendance rates in remote are, how those rates are looking.
Actually, we just had Eva Kelly give us some information on that, and I'll just say the lowest percentage, and that was partially due to some scheduling, was 75%. But we had one school where we happened to be at, I think we're at 94 or 95%.
I think it was nice.
Yeah, actually, if you have the spreadsheet up.
Each one. So right now, Crocker is at, average daily attendance is at 89.7. Rheingold is 93%. South Street is at 89.4. McKay is at 91.7. Memorial is at 97.5.
Oh.
Longsjo is at 74.8. Like Bob said, some scheduling issues there. The Fitchburg High is at 88.2. And Goodrich Academy is at 98.9.
Wow.
Wow.
With Longzhou, I would say that it might be more of an issue with how we recorded attendance than
Right.
it actually being at 74. I hate to say that it's not that, but there's some inconsistencies in how we collected that data.
Okay, thank you.
Are you going to be able to correct that so that you're
We can go back and post-date it in X2 as long as we can confirm that the students were there, which we're working on now.
Okay. Thank you, Casey. So, Mark Pierce, you're on deck.
I am here. Glad to be here. So first of all, I want to say we had a great first day today. We had our guided learning students come in, and they were all very excited to see the staff, and the staff was very excited to see them. We had about 20 students come in. So it can be done. We can get students back in the building, and I think we're doing it safely. And the foggers were out today in the bathrooms, and the cleaning of the doorknobs, and so it was just great to see kids back, and I think it's the first step of getting back to normal. So just my 2 cents on that. So like Bob said, about the district goal, us at McKay, we agree with this. The ILT had a chance to look at this. And we believe that in order to have personal growth, that you have to not only deal with the academics, but you also have to deal with the social emotional. So we spent a lot of time last year really trying to be proactive versus reactive and really getting at the root of why students are struggling learning. And so we're going to continue that work and really work on the social emotional so we can work on the academic piece next. Again, this is our enrollments. It mirrors the district. Hispanic 53.8% and our white population 27.3%. And I think if you look over the history of the last, probably in the school district, but at McKay too, is the population has changed. And at McKay, we've been really trying to work hard and reflect our practices in order to help this change. One thing we're very proud at McKay is the attendance. We worked very hard. One of my first initiatives a year and a half ago was focusing on attendance. If the kid's not in the building, they cannot learn. And I believe about a year and a half ago, we were about 25% chronically absent. So you can see in the last year and a half, so 2019, we were averaging about 12 days absent, and in this past year, 2020, we were at 7. And then you can see our attendance rate went from 93% to 96%. I was probably the only one, that was disappointed in a lack of MCAS, because I felt like the kids were coming, teachers and students were working really hard, and I really felt like we were going to knock MCAS out of the park last year. So we'll just keep on working hard and hopefully do it this coming year. So this is our access data, and I tried to look at it over the last 6-7 years just to get a gauge of where we stand this year. So you can see that we've been increasing the number of students that have been tested, whereas a few years ago, we were 64, and now we're up to 118 tested. 92 of the students this past year were assigned a target score. 42 students made targets, and that puts us at 46%. So you can see back in 2018, we were down to 29% making their target, and we've increased that to 46%, and we're hoping this year we get that into 55 to 60%. So again, this just reflects some of our chronic absenteeism data, where you can see the last 2 years, we were at 22.5% in 2018, 22% in 2019. Our target was 20.3, and this is not official data, but I was keeping track up till last year, March, where we were approximately at 15 to 16% at that time. So we were really on the way of beating our targets. And that's what we're working on right now. So like Bob said, or John just said, that our attendance rate right now is about 91, 92%, and we've been working really hard to get that better the next few weeks. So us in Fitchburg High School have been very fortunate to be able to work with focus schools. And so the work is basically collaboratively and intensively with focus schools to develop a comprehensive school-wide instructional focus. The focus is on the following 4 things. So we're going to focus on all students at McKay, so no excuses, all students at McKay. Content and skills that all students should know and be able to do. Curriculum and lessons fully aligned to standards, and measurable in a variety of ways to determine growth and achievement. So the McKay Instructional Leadership Team and faculty, we've been working throughout the year to develop leadership capacity and monitor the results of student performance. So this is a rough draft that we're continuing to work on, and it's probably going to be finalized on Wednesday when we continue our work with Kerry. But the draft that the faculty have come up with so far is all McKay students will adopt a growth mindset which will enable them to critically read and communicate their knowledge. Student growth will be measured by state, interim, and classroom-based assessments. So our focus is, again, tied to our student school improvement plan with depths of knowledge, academic discourse. And so we're trying to get all students to be able to read, write critically, and be able to communicate their knowledge. That's going to be our focus this year. And again, so with that statement comes student-friendly. And again, this is really rough draft. The faculty has been working on a couple of these, and we're going to narrow this down to one. But so here's kind of a sampling of what we've been talking about. So we've been talking about the literate Liger's roar. So they would be read, organize, apply, and respond. Or something like we believe, we read, we communicate, we grow. Or another one is we read, we communicate, we grow. So these are some of the student-friendly ones that we're working on. And once we come up with one, we are going to include the students in their input and see if we can come up with a catchy phrase or a statement for our school. So that leads me into the school improvement plan. And we have 3 goals. And the first goal is by the end of 2020-21 academic year, all staff members will have a clear role in the distributed leadership model at McKay Arts Academy, ensuring a common understanding of school vision, clear communication, and feedback loops across all team in support of school goals. So Kerry from Focus Schools has been working with us since the summer and really getting an understanding of how an ILT should work and the purpose of it. So we've been spending a lot of time on defining that and what it looks like. We represent every grade level. That has been one of the changes: specialists, SPED, ESL. So everybody's represented on the ILT. And the ILT now will run the PLCs, which is a new format for us. So we're also looking to build this leadership capacity within the ILT. And we're doing that by book studies, video clips, discussion protocols. We're hoping that's going to lead to eventually walkthroughs with the ILT members, and where the admin and ILT members will do learning walks, and we'll be assessing some of our initiatives like depths of knowledge and academic discourse. Our second goal is by the end of 2020-21 academic year, students at McKay Arts Academy will demonstrate rigorous levels of thinking and reasoning through written and oral discourse as evidenced by walkthrough data and an increase in student iReady, MCAS, and Access scores. So again, this really reflects our instructional focus that we just talked about. And we're going to do that by providing depth of knowledge training for ILT, which we did this summer. We had a book study. And the ILT members are now currently rolling out some of this training to all staff. So we did that in the 10-day PDs at the beginning of the year. And next week, when we do our teacher PD, we'll be doing some more work for staff. We're also going to do an informational writing prompt. We're going to do a pre and post where the coaches will be running that. We're going to align a walkthrough tool that with depths of knowledge indicators and academic discourse practices so we can rate on how we're doing. And again, taking this walkthrough tool not only as admin, but eventually ILT, and I think the end game is eventually have teachers going into classrooms and supporting teachers with this walkthrough tool. And the last goal, again, focuses on our attendance and discipline rates. So we've spent a lot of time on responsive classroom. I would say we probably have 95% of our staff now that has been trained in responsive classroom. And that we had 15 members this summer continue the training. So probably one of the best things that we've done well is having all our staff trained and everybody on the same page. We have morning meeting for the elementary. We have advisories in the middle school, which was kind of new to them, but we gave them the proper training, and I think things have been going very well with that. Again, trying to be proactive versus reactive, and I think our data is showing that. And then the last piece of that is just continuing to monitor daily attendance. And we've done that by involving teachers, students. We post it every day. We have little competitions. We have attendance prizes. So we're going to kind of roll out our instructional focus the same way that we rolled out our attendance. And I think that's where we'll be successful. And then the last slide is just our SMART goals, again, focusing on MCAS. So we know we have some work to do here. So our score a year ago was 487 for the ELA. And we know to be in the ballpark and to get us out of the bottom 10%, we got to get those scores up to 500. So we know we can do that. We're focusing on accountable talk, depths of knowledge. We're implementing the foundations again back at the school. And we're making sure that every student, whether they're a special education student, an ESL student, get grade level work. And that's the one thing we're pushing in versus pulling out kids. And we're doing the same thing for math. So math, again, 483, we have to get that score up to 500. And we've added Zern, K to 5. We've included IXL for the middle school grades. So we've included some interventions that were not there a few years ago. And then the last thing, like I said, is our attendance. We're working really hard because we believe that kids have to be in school in order for us to make these improvements.
Okay, any questions of Principal Pierce of McKay's plan? Okay, Mark, thank you. Great job.
Just a-
Oh, Sally has a comment.
Just a comment, Mr. Pierce, Literate Liger's Roar, that's awesome. I would, if I was a student, I would be voting for that. Also, Mr. Stevens, responsive classroom,
I know, I was gonna comment,
go for it.
been very much interested for the last 30 years in responsive classroom, and I was very much involved with it in the Fitchburg school system, and I'm so pleased to hear that Mr. Pierce has all of his teachers trained, because I think it not only helps the academics, but the social, emotional issues that we have in schools. So thank you, Mr. Pierce.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we're halfway through the school improvement plan presentations tonight, and next up is Rheingold and Principal Albert Mercado.
Good evening, School Committee and Central Office, for this opportunity to be here on behalf of Rheingold Elementary School. And we are proud to present our school-wide goals. Our mission statement remains the same as last year, so I won't spend some time reading that. Next slide. Our goals are based on the district's goals, so when we were drafting our goals, we were cognizant of the district goals to establish our 3 school-wide goals. Next slide. Just to talk about Rheingold's race summary, similar to the district, our Hispanic Latino rate is, again, like similar to all the other schools, is our highest population. Ours is at 51.7%, multi-race 7.8, Caucasian white 38.1, Asian 4.3, Black African American 4.3%. In regards to our attendance summary, if you may remember, in 2019, that was one of our focus was attendance. In 2017, Rheingold's attendance rate was 94.2%, and happy to report at 2020, we are at 96.1%. In addition, we've been able to reduce the average number of days the students are absent. I need to give credit to the work of the student attendance team, which was our parent liaison, Lori Stone, our assistant principal, Mr. Sparks, Heather Kobe, our guidance counselor, Sue Carrot, our adjustment counselor. They met each week with teachers, parents, and community partners to develop plans for students to get them on the track of success by coming to school. And the work paid off. So thank you. And this is our instructional leadership team. There are some changes on the team this year with some new members. Good. Next slide. And we talked about our access scores as well. That was one of our focus last year. And we were able to increase the number of students from 67% to 69%. And while the number of students that are now FLEP, that they met the criteria, that percent at the end of the year went from 11% to 15%, the number of students that have exited the program. And our first school-wide goal, focus on academic excellence. Rheingold Elementary will actively cultivate a culture of equity and excellence by creating and sustaining curriculum and instructional practices that lead to high-quality learning for each and every student. We build the capacity of our educators to meet challenges and opportunities of teaching and learning in a dynamic and evolving environment. The two objectives for this goal are to provide curriculum and instruction that inspires and engages students in the 5 domains of language to promote and enhance learning outcomes for all students. And we're really focusing on the 5 domains because if the students are able to present their ideas in the 5 domains, they've reached a higher level of mastery. In addition, foster a cycle of continuous instructional improvement through the use of data, collaboration, and instructional supports. Next slide. Our goal 2 is educational equity. We want to focus on continuing to narrow the achievement gaps with respect to race, ethnicity, and socioeconomic status, and increase the achievement of students with special needs. We plan to do this by creating and build upon promising initiatives to meet the needs of all learners and ensure that all students succeed. Achieving equity is closely tied to personalized learning. It requires understanding of each student's individual needs and designing educational experiences that will help all students achieve success. Next slide. And our family and community engagement goal. Rheingold Elementary School understands the importance of involving parents and the community as a whole in promoting higher student achievement. Therefore, Rheingold Elementary School shall strive to develop and maintain the capacity for meaningful and productive family and community engagement that will result in partnerships that are mutually beneficial to the school, students, parents, and the community. Again, our objectives will to foster effective family and community engagement strategies and support partnership among schools, parents, and the community to improve student achievement. And Rheingold Elementary School will build the school's capacity for strong family and community engagement. With each of these goals, our school has identified different strategies, goals, and steps that our staff members will be able to choose as they develop their goals to support our school-wide goals and support the district goals. That's the information I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Albert. Any questions for Mr. Mercado?
Yep, just one. Did we get the chronic absenteeism and how that is at Rheingold?
Sure,
Mercado?
it was highlighted, and our chronic absenteeism for the 2019-2020 was at 96.
Albert, that was your attendance rate.
That was your attendance rate.
Yeah, 96.1% of our students attended, not our absenteeism. But on the slide, it does show how many it was reduced, I believe, from 11 down to about 6.
So Sally, I don't have the exact number, but I can tell you that through our data through March 13th, every school would have hit their target.
That's great.
But you know, the state hasn't calculated that yet, but through our own calculations.
Well, because the attendance during this remote learning era is so strong for Rheingold. It makes me miss being at Rheingold even more. That's an impressive. I mean, that's impressive. And I'm glad to see Mrs. Boutwell you've got a kindergarten teacher on the learning team, and expanding that. Really happy to hear that.
Yes, Ms. Boudreau was representative of the kindergarten team last year, but she's now in grade 1.
Yep.
But we are very proud of our 93% present. We're working on getting that higher as more students get technology and we support more of our families and understanding the infrastructures. Hopefully, the next coming weeks we'll be at 95, 96 where we belong to be, and ideally at 100%.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Adam, technology won't cause us to lose attendance, will it? I mean, if somebody doesn't have all of their technology, is there some way we're going to be able to account for them?
So we're currently trying to put technology in every student's hands. The schools are having individual conversations with families who may not have either technology or access to the internet at this point and providing hard copy work.
So you are keeping a record of it so that they're being counted on the attendance as participating in school, even though they haven't been able to participate.
For those students who can't right now, and there's not many that cannot
Yep.
participate using Chromebooks and technology, we are keeping a record at each
Yeah,
school.
so they wouldn't be marked absent, so, okay.
Okay, there being no other questions, thank you, Albert.
Thank you.
And to close out the school improvement plans, we have our newest principal, or actually interim principal at South Street Elementary School is Michelle Crowell. And Michelle comes to us from most recently being in Everett Public Schools. So we're glad to have Michelle with us, part of the Fitchburg team. And Michelle, you get to talk about South Street. So here we go.
Perfect. Good evening. Thank you for inviting me here tonight to discuss the South Street School Improvement Plan for this year. Next. Here are the district goals that Superintendent Jokala presented earlier tonight. These goals were the basis of the development of our school improvement plan for this year. This graph shows the breakdown of enrollment at South Street by race. 58.4% of the students are Hispanic Latino, 22% are white. Black and or African American and multiracial non-Hispanic make up 7.8% of our student population, and 3.2% of our students are Asian. Next. The South Street staff has worked very hard to improve student attendance. In 2019, the average number of days students were absent was 10.6 days, with an attendance rate of 93.8. During the 2020 school year, school absenteeism improved, with students missing just an average of 6.9 days and improving the attendance rate to 96%. South Street is proud to celebrate that 60% of students in all grades made progress on the 2020 access test. This is an increase of 9% from 2019. In addition, 83% of our fourth graders made progress. During the fall of 2019, South Street was awarded the Kaleidoscope Grant through the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. This grant focuses on deeper learning and creating rigorous integrated units of study in the areas of writing, science, and social studies. And lastly, South Street staff successfully completed 4 book studies focused on literacy instruction and closing the achievement gap. Based on various data points, South Street has identified 4 key areas of focus. The first area identified is the progress of special education students in both math and English language arts. Due to remote learning and COVID-19, we have also determined that tracking student attendance during this time will be critical for student achievement and success. And lastly, based on the 2019 MCAS assessment, English language learners earned 0 out of 4 points on their progress towards English proficiency. This slide shows our EL students, how they had great progress on the 2020 access test. All students in grades 2 through 4 showed gains from the previous year, with first graders showing a slight decline in the progress made. Overall, students improved their progress by 9 percentage points from 2019 to 60%. Next. South Street's school-wide focus is on 3 key areas. 1, to ensure a healthy school climate and culture that recognizes the social emotional needs of our students. 2, to use a collaborative inquiry approach to close the achievement gap through structured data meetings and common planning time to develop specific data-driven action plans. And lastly, to prepare our students to be global individuals who value diversity and are sensitive and responsive to different cultures. Our goals are based on areas of need determined by various data points such as MCAS, access scores, and attendance data. Our first goal is to increase the achievement of the special education subgroup in the area of math and English language arts. This subgroup has shown improvement in the past, but declined slightly in 2019. It will be our goal to increase achievement in both areas to 40% progress toward goals. To do this, we will create and monitor student action plans and revisit these plans quarterly to ensure students' needs are met. Our second goal is to continue to improve the attendance rate. It is our goal to decrease the average number of days absent to 5.9%. To do this, administrators and guidance staff will meet weekly to discuss attendance concerns and next steps. Our third goal is to increase EL MCAS proficiency scores from 0 in 2019 to 3 points in 2020. To do this, teachers will be integrating language and content to help English learners make sufficient progress toward meeting grade level content expectations. This will have an immediate impact on student achievement as evidenced by MCAS and access scores. Next. Our last two goals focus on equity and social emotional learning. To prepare our students to be global individuals who value diversity and are culturally aware, it is our goal to create and maintain an environment in which staff and students' diverse backgrounds, identities, strengths, and challenges are respected and honored. It is our goal that students will gain a sense of responsibility and a commitment to civic engagement. This will directly impact family engagement, student participation, and attendance. Our last goal is to improve the social, physical, and emotional well-being of South Street students. To do this, teachers will continue to implement Ruler and Mood Meter with their students. Ruler will also be embedded into daily morning meetings and the health curriculum. It is our goal that students will be able to understand the value of emotions and emotional intelligence and partner with families to expand social emotional learning at home. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. Any questions?
I do. Are students using Ruler and Mood Meters in the remote meetings every time they're meeting now?
We are. So when we passed out our curriculum bags last week, all of our students received 4 color index cards so that our teachers can do daily check-ins during our morning meetings. So the students just hold up their mood meter cards of the day, and teachers are able to gauge the students' feelings from home.
That's good. Thanks.
You're welcome.
I would just like to welcome you to Fitchburg, Michelle.
Yep.
And
Thank you.
Okay, Michelle, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up on our agenda, we have a nutrition services update from Dave Semenza, Director of Nutrition Services as provided by Sodexo. So Dave, you're up to give us a status of what we're doing now and what we've done over the summer and some information on how we closed out last year.
Excellent. Thanks, Bob. Let me just grab control of my screen. Bear with me. Start the show. How's everyone doing? Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
yes,
Excellent. All right. I just want to give you a brief update on how we're doing in nutrition services. So quick background, some numbers on meals provided March 16th through the 12th, essentially the emergency closure through the end of school. We served 146, almost 147,000 meals. June 15th, we started a somewhat non-traditional summer program, similar to previous summers where we would be in park sites and whatnot, but we continued serving meals in a non-traditional manner where folks could pick up meals, grab and go to take home. We served almost 120,000 meals this summer through September 11th, and then the official start of school this year, remote learning, September 14th through the 30th. We've already served almost 40,000 meals to the families in Fitchburg. So that's, since the COVID pandemic started, we're at about little over 305,000 meals served at no charge to the families in and around the city of Fitchburg. So just a shout out to my amazing staff who have made these,
I think we just need
made these daunting numbers happen. So thank you. So quick program update for meals. What we know, things are continue to change. Almost day to day, as we all know. So we currently have USDA waivers in place through December 31st that allows us to continue our current meal program at no cost. Now, these waivers were put into effect back in March, and they've continued. They've been extended a couple of times right now through December 31st. These waivers make it allow us super easy. They make it really easy for us to serve meals to anyone 18 or under. And I was on a call with Desi last week. There is optimism these waivers will be extended beyond December 31st, but they don't know for sure yet. Should the waivers not be extended, we will still have the ability to serve our meals at no cost to the families of our students or to the students enrolled in our schools. It just makes it a little bit, it's more of a traditional school lunch program that way. Which we would still be able to provide meals to remote learners and whatnot. But these waivers that are in place now are great. They allow us to serve meals at no cost to anybody 18 or under. There's no other restrictions other than age. So I did just want to go through. We have, over the months, we have just come up with, we're trying to be as creative as possible, think outside the box, be as innovative as we can, just to make it as easy as possible to get meals in the hands of families. So we really have 6 options. I'm going to go into each one of those in a little bit more detail here. So pickup options, community location, friends and families, community daycare centers, some home meal delivery, which I'm going to talk about, and as well as in-person learning meal pickup. So school meal pickup. All 7 schools here in Fitchburg are providing meal pickup from 11 to 1 o'clock for the most part. There's going to be some tweaking to that as remote learners return. But we want to make it as easy for folks. We highlighted South Street and Fitchburg in red. Fitchburg High stopped serving in April, but we've brought them back online, and South Street we have brought back on. We took the summer off at South Street due to construction, but we've now that we're back up and in school, South Street meal pickup has resumed. Folks can pick up lunch and breakfast for the next day for anyone 18 or under. And service times are 11 to 1, subject to change, but we update that, as we're navigating the in-person learning schedule that we're planning. Public community locations, we identified, we had 16 bus stops that we were providing meals to through the summer. We did consolidate that down to 3 of the busier bus stops where we're capturing, of all the bus stops, we're capturing about 90% of the meals served that we were at all the bus stops combined. So we're still, families still have pretty easy access to meals at these bus stops listed. The bus shows up. One of the nutrition services staff members rides on the bus, distributes the meals, and again, lunch is picked up as well as breakfast for the next morning. And a quick little map here. The starred locations are all the current pickup sites throughout Fitchburg, and I'll have this map up again at the end, but we have pretty good coverage throughout the whole city. Friends and families, this is something we are encouraging all teachers, faculty, and staff of Fitchburg Public Schools. This is a meal program for anyone 18 or under. There are so many folks on the nutrition services team, teachers, custodians, principals, vice principals, everyone. If you have kids at home, you can grab meals to take home to your kids. If you have neighbors that have kids at home, and you're helping them out, see one of the folks in one of our cafeterias, and they can provide meals, breakfast, lunch for that day, and breakfast for the next morning as needed. Meals can be picked up for, again, anyone 18 or under. Doesn't have to be from your household. It can be a neighborhood of someone in your neighborhood, friends or families. So this is where we're actively letting folks know this. Sending information out through the principals, asking them to share with their staff. Just as another way to make it easier to get meals into the hands of kids. And we also always like to let any members of the public who might be seeing this, if you have neighbors, family, friends, anyone that might be struggling to get meals for their kids, you are welcome to just come to one of our 7 school pickup sites or 3 bus stop sites. All you need to do is let them know how many meals you need, and one of our staff will provide you the meals that are needed for anyone 18 or under. Super simple. There's no pre-ordering or anything like that. They just show up, say, I need 3 meals, and we provide them to you. Community daycares, community centers and daycares, there are several in and around Fitchburg that are open to, for various reasons. They're remote learning sites or daycare centers. We are providing meals to as many of those as we can. For example, the YMCA is acting as a remote learning site. We provide breakfast and lunch there each day. There's multiple daycare centers in Fitchburg, in and around Fitchburg, that we're providing meals to. So just another shout out, if anyone knows of a community center or daycare, could be a church, anything where there might be kids there during the day. Maybe it's someone, a church is having kids come to log in to do their remote learning. We can drop off meals for those kids so they can have lunch. And we can even come in the morning to bring breakfast to whatever works for folks. I put my contact information up on the screen for anyone seeing it, but my phone number and email address can be found on the Nutrition Services landing page on the Fitchburg Public Schools website. We have implemented a contactless home meal delivery program. So some families have been identified as having just significant obstacles to accessing meals, whether it be a transportation problem, location in the city. They're not in a convenient location to one of our meal pickup sites. So right now we've identified about 45 families that are able to call in. We divided the city up into delivery zones. Families are assigned to one of our schools. We ask the parent call in the morning. They let us know how many meals we need, or how many meals they need. And then between about 11 and 1, we have staff that are delivering them to the families. It's contactless. We ask, we leave the meals outside. We ring the doorbell, knock on the door to let folks know the meals are there. And then our staff leaves. They don't, no interaction or anything like that, to ensure safety. We ask if anyone knows of any potential families. We're working with school principals, guidance counselors, or family liaisons to help us identify families. Like I said, we have about 45 families right now. I estimate we have the capacity for about 100, but this is all new to us, so we're doing everything we can to make sure the folks that need them get them. But any families that might be struggling, we encourage you to reach out to your principal, to your school's principal, and then we can work with them to see. This is, again, folks who are really struggling to get meals, and we're, not necessarily folks who just don't feel like coming to pick them up, but, we want to allocate our resources to make sure as many families as possible can get these meals if they're just struggling to get them. And then in-person learning. When in-person learning, we had some kids back today. It was great to see them. We are handing out meals, lunch for that day and breakfast for the next morning for all in-person student learners. They're going to be provided in bags, like I said, a lunch and the breakfast for kids to take home. So kids back in school will still be able to get meals. And we are also able to provide snacks as needed during the day, as requested by the schools to in-person learners. Some kids might be there for as many as 5 hours or so. That's a long time without having something to eat. So we have the infrastructure in place to provide some snacks and things like that as well to help those kids get through the day. Just quick rules about our meal pickup program. Again, these USDA waivers that we're operating under are fantastic. All meals are at no cost to anyone 18 or under. Meals can be picked up at any of our locations. Anyone 18 or under is eligible. Enrollment in Fitchburg schools is not required, and residency in Fitchburg is not required. Anyone under 18 is eligible regardless of where they live or which school they go to. A few safety notes. We are ensuring all of our meals are being served as safely as possible. All of our kitchens are in service areas are cleaned and disinfected regularly. PPE, proper social distancing measures are practiced by all of our staff during production times and whatnot, as well as during our contactless delivery. Staff are required to wear their masks. Even when they're outside delivering the meals, masks have to be on at all times. And all service models are set up to ensure the fastest possible meal service. We share a lot of information about meal program updates on the Fitchburg Public Schools website, as well as the social media pages that the district manages. And I'll just, again, that map, leave that back up, but that's our update. That's where we are, and we continue to plug away each day, making sure kids have food.
Good way to end the presentation, Dave. Any questions from the school committee members? Good. Jim?
Jim Walsh, Dave, just a big thank you to you and your staff at Nutrition Services for what you, not only are doing now, but what you did since the school shut down in March and what you continue to do over the summer. It's very important that our students have access to the proper nutrition in order for them to succeed. So thanks again for everything that you do.
We feed kids, it's what we do.
Dave, could I just add, it's just been a heroic feat, and to deliver the most important resource that people need at this point. So someday when this is history, which I hope is soon, I mean, you should have a really huge chapter, you're the food services people, because you really kept a lifeline out for people. So just incredible.
Well, thank you. It's, all made possible by the 54 amazing, hardworking, dedicated staff that I get to work with each and every day. So all the kudos goes to them.
Dave, this is Sally. I just wanted to concur with what everyone has said. From the moment that the shutdown occurred, you all, your 54 staff members, and the vision and leadership that you've had to make this extraordinary effort, and looking at the numbers in the 6 figures is staggering. It just, it's been a lifeline for me too, because I can bring school lunch home, and throughout the spring, my children had a taste of school. Like the last little bit of official school came with school lunch. The pancakes, the mini pancakes, are like the biggest hit. So thank you. I know other families have appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you all. We're happy to be here.
Thank you, David.
May I make a comment?
Sure.
Have you experienced any difficulty with the pipeline, all the supplies coming to you?
We haven't. We developed a menu that had that in mind, that might not be able to get everything we needed all the time. So we worked with our supplier and our supply chain to ensure that we had a good menu mix. So we would, there may have been a day or two this summer where we didn't have our normal 3 or 4 choices, but we always had something. So I'm not going to say we haven't had any issues, but it's been minimal. Like I said, the menu we created took that into account to minimize that, and that has worked.
That's so nice to hear, and I continue to be uplifted by your generosity rather than being small-hearted and small-minded. You have a very broad community outlook, and that lifts me up. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, Dave. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, moving on tonight to the financial or budget arena. We have several grants to submit and also several grants to accept. Mr. Shalfo?
Just before I get into the grants, just the donation that we'll be receiving, it's worth noting that the mayor's office helped facilitate a conversation between Pittsburgh Public Schools and AIS, which is a manufacturing company in Leominster, and in partnership with the United Way of North Central Massachusetts, will be donating a cloth-type mask for every student and staff member in the Fitchburg Public Schools with an estimated value of $26,000. So I want to thank the mayor for helping us connect with AIS, and we'll be actually on site on the 14th of October to receive their donation. So it's very excited for a great partnership. As far as grants for submitting, we have our school redesign grant for Memorial, which is $312,000, and this is the second of 3 years that that grant will be submitting, and that's to help sustainable improvement plans at Memorial. We have our targeted assistance grants totaling $95,000. That's $25,000 at Fitchburg High School, $25,000 at Longjo, and $45,000 at McKay. And again, these are for schools that are identified as requiring assistance through the Mass Department of Education. We have our early college support grant, which is $29,000, and this is for funds to help support our dual enrollment program at Fitchburg High School. We have a Mass Grad Promising Practices grant, and that will be at Goodrich Academy for $20,000, and it'll be submitting, and that's to focus on students at higher risk and at-risk students. And we have our Open Ed Science grant that's for $3,650, and that will be to help purchase our science materials for the district. And grants to be accepted, we have all of our federal grants, our Title I, $2.3 million, our Title IIA at $265,000, Title III, $142,000, and our Title IV grants for $180,000. And finally, our Corona Relief Grant of $1.2 million. They've all been processed and here to be accepted tonight.
Mr. Shalafo, before, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Rick Marchand, Mr. Marchand from Leominster, childhood friend of mine, and we've known each other for years. He's the one who really launched the IAS initiative. We thank the owner as well.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to be meeting with him this week. But Rick was really instrumental in getting this to happen, so.
Great to work with, he's great.
Was,
and
we thank him.
Very much appreciate it.
Okay, so those grants are on the action items to be submitted and accepted by the school committee. Next item we have here on the agenda is the face mask policy. We have a slight tweak to make to the policy. But we'll be running that through the policy subcommittee first before we bring that back to school committee 2 weeks from tonight.
Okay.
So having said that, we're ready to go to the action items.
That would be accepting the minutes of the school committee meeting held on September 14th. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to accept the grants.
Second?
Well, these are the minutes.
The minute.
Oh, the minutes, okay.
Yeah.
Make a motion to accept the minutes.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you. Mr. Jokel, we're moving into the submittal of the approved superintendent's recommendation of following grants as read: school redesign grant, targeted assistance grant, early college support grant, Mass Grad Promising Practices grant, Goodrich Open Ed Science grant. Do I have a motion to accept?
Make a motion to accept.
Second.
Excuse me,
Motion made, second to
submit.
Submit.
as submitted.
Submit.
As submitted. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you. Proof the superintendent's recommendation to accept the following grants as read: Title I grant, Title IIA grant, Title III grant, Title IV grant, and CVRF school reopening grant in the amounts that were read by Mr. Shalafo. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to accept the grants.
Motion made
Second?
and seconded to accept those grants. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It is unanimous. We're going into executive session.
Yes.
I'll
We
make
need
a
a vote
motion.
on that.
I'll
Where's
make a
Ms.
motion to
Greenlee's
go into
today? She
executive
She is
session
remote.
only
Yep.
to,
remote. Hi. Okay.
we all set?
So we need a vote to go into executive session. Ms. Cragan?
Aye.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
I am a yes. Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Ms. LaBelle Pierce?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. Horgan?
Yes.
We are now in executive session.
Okay,
Wait till.
yep, so let's, I'll just confirm that the recording has